I caught my fiancée in bed with my best friend. What are you gonna do, cry? She mocked. I just smiled and left. This morning my phone was full of missed calls from both of them. I still can't believe I'm writing this. My hands are shaking, but not from sadness, from pure rage. This happened yesterday, and my phone hasn't stopped buzzing since this morning. Some background. I'm Noah, 32M, and until yesterday I was engaged to Kristen, 29F. We'd been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months. My best friend Brian, 31M, was supposed to be my best man, was being the key word here. Looking back, there were signs. Little things that made my gut twist, but I ignored them like an idiot. Kristen started going to the gym more often about 4 months ago. Nothing wrong with that, right? Especially since Brian was her trainer. He'd been my best friend since high school, so I trusted him completely. Mistake. She started coming home later, always with some excuse about client meetings running long. Her phone was always face down. She'd get texts late at night and would smile at her phone, but if I walked near, she'd quickly lock it. Classic, right? But when I'd ask, she'd flip it around on me. Why are you so controlling? Don't you trust me? God, you're so insecure. Yesterday I was supposed to be at a site visit until 6 p.m. The meeting ended early, so I grabbed some takeout from her favorite place, thinking I'd surprise her. Guess who got the real surprise? I knew something was wrong the moment I pulled up. Brian's truck was in our driveway. He was supposed to be at work. I still remember standing there, holding that stupid bag of food, staring at his license plate like maybe if I looked hard enough, it would turn into someone else's. Used my key, quietly. Heard noises from upstairs. You know those moments in movies where everything goes quiet except for the sound of your own heartbeat? Yeah, that's all I could hear, was them, and my blood rushing in my ears. Pushed open the bedroom door. There they were, in our bed. The bed I'd helped her pick out when we moved in together. The bed where we talked about our future, our kids, our dreams. Kristen saw me first. And you know what? She didn't even look scared or sorry. She looked at me with this smirk and said, "What are you gonna do, cry?" Brian jumped up, stammering, "Bro, I can explain." I cut him off. "Don't call me bro." My voice was so calm it surprised even me. Kristen wrapped the sheet around herself, that smirk still on her face. "Well, say something. Go ahead, have your little breakdown." Instead, I pulled out my phone, took a few pictures. They tried to cover up, too late, and said, "Thanks for making this easy." Then I turned and walked out. Behind me, Kristen started yelling, "That's it? You're just gonna walk away? You coward." I stopped at the doorway, turned back and said, "No, I'm just getting started." Spent the night at a motel. This morning my phone exploded. 47 missed calls from Kristen, 23 from Brian. Texts begging me not to tell Brian's wife, Judith. More texts from Kristen, switching between threats and pleading. The best one from Kristen, "You better not ruin my life over this or I swear to God you'll regret it." I haven't responded to any of them. But I did make some calls this morning. First to my bank, then to both our families. You see, what they don't know is that I've suspected something for weeks. I've got screenshots, lots of them, from our shared iPad that Kristen forgot she was still logged into. Every message, every plan to meet up, every lie they told. Kristen's probably realizing right now that her credit cards aren't working anymore. Joint accounts? Empty. Moved my half to a new account last night. Engagement rings on the kitchen table with a note. Hope he's worth it. Both their phones are still blowing up my phone, but I'm done talking. They thought I'd break down, cry, make a scene. Instead, I'm making a plan. Updates will follow. Got a feeling the next few days are going to be interesting. Edit. Holy, this blew up. Thanks for all the support. To answer some common questions. Yes, Judith, Brian's wife, already knows. I sent her everything this morning. No, I'm not going to just let it go. Currently ignoring another wave of calls. Kristen's sister just called to tell me I'm being cruel by not letting Kristen explain herself. Explain what? How she accidentally fell on my best friend's dick? I'll update when there's more to share. Right now, I'm just watching them panic. It's actually kind of entertaining. Update 1. So yesterday I posted about walking in on Kristen and Brian. A lot has happened since then, and I need to get this off my chest. Remember how I mentioned the missed calls? Well, I woke up to 47 missed calls and about 100 messages. Kristen was frantically trying to explain, while Brian was begging me not to tell his wife, Judith. Yeah, buddy, should have thought about that before screwing my fiancée. Here's where it gets interesting. I hadn't told them, but I'd suspected something was up for weeks. Kristen had been weirdly protective of her phone lately, but she'd forget about our shared iPad. Rookie mistake. The messages I found between them went back months. Months. They'd been meeting up at Brian's gym when he was supposed to be training her. The best part? She'd been using my credit card to pay for those sessions. I spent the morning methodically dismantling our shared life. First stop, the bank. Separated all our accounts. Removed her as an authorized user from my credit cards. The bank lady's face when I explained why was priceless. "Honey, my sister went through the same thing. Take him for everything," she said. I just smiled. Around noon, Kristen showed up at my place. Different tune now. Crying, apologizing, saying it was a mistake. I just sat there, letting her talk herself in circles. Then she switched to anger. "You're really going to throw away 3 years over one mistake?" she screamed. "We're supposed to get married in 4 months." I just looked at her and said, "You know what's funny? I was actually coming home early to surprise you. Had dinner reservations and everything. Guess I was the one who got surprised instead. She went pale when I mentioned the iPad messages, started stammering about how I violated her privacy. That's when I lost it, and laughed. Actually laughed in her face. Privacy? Like the privacy of our bed where I found you with my best friend? Then Brian showed up. Bad timing, bro. He tried to play it cool, said we should talk this out like men. I looked him dead in the eye and said, 15 years of friendship and you couldn't keep your dick out of my fiancée? There's nothing to talk about. That's when shit hit the fan. Brian started getting aggressive, stepping up to me. What? You gonna hit me? Go ahead, give me a reason to call the cops. He backed down real quick. Funny how bullies fold when you stand up to them. But here's the real kicker. While all this was going down, I'd been busy. Remember those gym sessions they'd been having? Well, I had receipts, literally, along with some very interesting messages about their workout routine. Judith deserved to know what kind of man she married. I sent everything to Judith. Everything. Within an hour, Brian's phone was blowing up. Guess who's sleeping on someone's couch tonight? Kristen's still trying to control the narrative, telling our friends I'm overreacting. But those screenshots tell a different story. It's amazing how quick people change sides when they see the truth. The wedding venue called today about the final payment. I told them the wedding was off and why. The coordinator was surprisingly cool about it. Said she'd refund my deposits. Happens more often than you'd think, she said. At least you found out before the wedding. I've moved most of my stuff to my brother's place. Changed my passwords, ordered new credit cards, the whole 9 yards. Kristen keeps texting from different numbers, switching between begging and threats. Brian sent a few messages too. Mostly about how I'm destroying his marriage. Yeah, pretty sure you did that yourself, buddy. The funny thing is, I feel oddly calm. Maybe it's shock. Maybe it's knowing I dodged a bullet. Our mutual friends are divided. Some think I should work it out with Kristen, give her another chance. These are probably the same friends who knew and said nothing. Tonight, I'm meeting up with Judith. She wants to compare notes, figure out how long this has been going on. Should be an interesting conversation. But here's what they don't know. I've got more evidence. A lot more. And I'm just getting started. Edit, to the people asking if I'm okay. Yeah, I am. Better than okay. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. Update 2. I wasn't planning on posting another update, but things have escalated in ways I never expected. Thank you all for the support on my previous posts. Quick recap. Caught my fiancée Kristen in bed with my best friend Brian. She mocked me. I walked away calmly and spent the last 2 weeks methodically dismantling their lives. Here's what's happened since then. Remember how I mentioned Kristen needed my reference for that big client of hers? Well, the client reached out to verify my employment and income last Thursday. I simply told them the truth, that I was no longer engaged to Kristen and couldn't vouch for her anymore. I also mentioned how she had proven herself untrustworthy in personal matters, and while I couldn't speak to her professional conduct, I wouldn't feel comfortable being her referent. The client pulled out. Kristen showed up at my place screaming at 9 p.m. that night. She was recording everything on her phone, obviously trying to get me to react badly on camera. You vindictive piece of... You cost me my biggest sale of the year. She kept getting in my face, phone raised, trying to provoke me. I just stood there calmly, hands in my pockets, and said, "Actions have consequences, Kristen. You should have thought about that before you f***ed my best friend." She completely lost it. Started throwing my own patio chairs at my front door. After I went inside, I called the police non-emergency line and recorded everything from my window. They gave her a warning for disturbing the peace. The look on her face when she realized her little recording stunt had backfired? Priceless. But that wasn't even the main event. Remember Brian's wife, Judith? She deserved to know the truth. I reached out and asked to meet her for coffee, brought copies of all the screenshots, text messages, and photos I'd gathered. She was surprisingly calm while going through everything, until she found messages from January. They'd been doing this for months, way before I caught them. He told me he was at the gym, she kept saying, scrolling through timestamps of Brian and Kristen's meetups. He said he was working late all those nights. She started crying right there in Starbucks. Judith's revenge was way more brutal than anything I could have planned. She waited until Brian was doing his usual Saturday morning workout session with clients, showed up at the gym, walked straight up to him, and dumped a protein shake all over his head in front of everyone. Then she started reading their messages out loud, the explicit ones, the ones where they mocked both me and Judith. The gym video went viral in our local Facebook groups. Brian lost half his clients within days. Turns out people don't like trainers who sleep with their best friend's fiancée. His Instagram following tanked too. Goodbye, fitness influencer dreams. Kristen tried damage control on social media, posting some long sob story about how sometimes love is messy and people make mistakes when they're confused. She even tried to paint herself as the victim somehow. That's when I decided to go nuclear. Remember our engagement party? The one where Kristen gave that tearful speech about how I saved her after her last relationship, how I was the most loyal, trustworthy man she'd ever known? Everyone recorded it. I edited together clips of that speech with screenshots of her messages to Brian, planning their hookups around my work schedule, and posted it in response to her pity post. She called me crying yesterday. Actually crying this time, not the fake tears she used at the party. Please take it down. Noah, people are calling my parents. My sister won't talk to me. Brian won't even answer my texts anymore. What am I going to do? Cry? I asked, then hung up. Their affair bubble has burst spectacularly. Brian's sleeping on his buddy's couch. Judith changed the locks. Kristen's broker is pissed about losing that big client. Most of our friends have chosen sides, and surprisingly, most chose mine. Turns out people don't like cheaters who mock their victims. I'm not done yet. I've got more evidence, more screenshots, more truth bombs to drop, but honestly, watching them destroy their own lives is so much more satisfying than anything I could do. Brian and Kristen are both frantically calling and texting, begging me to talk things out and find closure. They're scared because they know I still have more receipts. The best part, I'm totally at peace. Every morning I wake up and thank whatever force in the universe made me come home early that day. Imagine if I'd married her, had kids, bought a house. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. Final update coming soon. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. Final update. Sorry for the delay in updating. These past few weeks have been intense, but I promise to tell you how this ends. Grab a drink because this is going to be a long one. Remember how I mentioned having some cards left to play? Well, I played them all. No, nothing illegal, nothing that could get me in trouble. Just pure methodical dismantling of their lives. They wanted to play games? Fine by me. First, Kristen. Remember how she mocked me? What are you going to do, cry? Those words kept repeating in my head. So I made some calls. Turns out our neighbor's security camera had a perfect view of our driveway. For months, she'd been bringing Brian over whenever I had late shifts or was away. I compiled everything. Dates, times, text messages from our shared iPad that she forgot to delete. Then I waited. Last week was her big pitch to this wealthy couple looking to buy property. She'd been bragging about it for months. The commission would have set her up for the year. Guess who the couple's close friend was? My cousin, Edgar. One quick conversation about Kristen's business practices and ethical standards, backed up with proof of her letting Brian into our house while engaged to me. Well, they pulled out. But it didn't stop there. The thing about small towns, word travels fast, especially when you have evidence. I didn't spread rumors. I just showed people the truth when they asked. Her phone started blowing up with canceled appointments. Turns out couples looking to buy homes prefer agents who don't sleep with their clients' spouses. Yes, Brian had trained some of her clients. Speaking of Brian, remember Judith, his wife? She'd been suspicious for a while but had no proof. I gave her everything, the videos, the texts, the times he was supposedly training late. Their confrontation was epic. He came home to find his stuff on the lawn and the locks changed. Judith is a force of nature when she's angry. She works at the same gym where Brian trained clients. Guess who suddenly had schedule conflicts with all his high-paying clients? The best part? They turned on each other. Brian blamed Kristen for being too obvious. Kristen blamed Brian for not being careful enough. Their perfect little affair imploded spectacularly. Last night was the cherry on top. I was at this local bar with some friends when they walked in together. Kristen spotted me and had the nerve to approach. "You're pathetic," she spat. "Destroying our lives because you couldn't handle the truth." I just smiled. "Handle the truth? Honey, I'm handling it just fine. How's that big commission work?" Brian tried to step in, but I wasn't done. "And you, brother, how's the training business? Judith told me the gym's thinking of letting you go. Something about client complaints." He swung at me. "Big mistake. Huge. I may work behind a desk now, but I grew up rough." 10 seconds later, he was on the floor, nose bleeding. I didn't even get kicked out. The bartender saw him swing first. Filed a police report too, just to be safe. This morning, Kristen's broker called her in for a meeting. Turns out sleeping with client spouses and losing major deals raises some red flags. She's on probation, pending review. Brian's getting divorced, lost most of his clients, and might lose his job. Their little affair already showing cracks. Last I heard, they're fighting constantly, blaming each other for everything falling apart. Me? I met someone, Aspen. She's nothing like Kristen. Honest, direct, no games. We're taking it slow, but it feels real. She knows my story and understands why I keep receipts for everything now. The point of revenge isn't to break the law or hurt people physically. It's about letting them face the consequences of their actions, maybe with a little push in the right direction. They thought I was weak because I walked away that night. They mistook patience for weakness. Big mistake. Karma's not a bitch. She's just really good at paperwork and has excellent timing. Edit, holy hell, this blew up. Thanks for all the support, awards, and messages. To answer some common questions, yes, everything I did was legal. I just made sure the right people had the right information at the right time. No, I'm not worried about retaliation. They'd have to explain their actions first. Aspen knows everything and thinks they got what they deserved. Dean, a mutual friend, told me Brian's been sleeping on his couch. Apparently, Kristen kicked him out last week after another fight. Life's funny sometimes. 2 months ago, I thought my world was ending. Now I realize it was just making space for something better.